The blue dress didn't look like much at first. Just another thrift store relic. Cotton faded at the seams, a color somewhere between sky and bruise. I remember thinking it felt soft, used, like something that had already survived more than I had. I wore it to my cousin Lila's birthday 3 summers ago, before I knew what kind of person she'd become. Before her followers and filters, before she learned how to turn people into content. Back then, I was still working doubles at Ruby's Diner off Highway 47, scraping tips from tourists who forgot my name but remembered my smile. Lila was the one who told me to smile like that, actually. "Smile with your eyes, Sam," she used to say when we were kids. Otherwise, it looks fake. Funny thing is, she's the one who turned it into an art form. I hadn't seen her in months until last night. Or rather, I hadn't seen her in person. Online, she's everywhere, inescapable. You scroll and there she is. Lila with her authentic morning routine, or healing playlist, or Sunday reset. Everything wrapped in pastels. Every caption just self-aware enough to seem humble. But last night I couldn't sleep. My phone screen was the only light in my apartment, and I was doing that thing where you scroll without purpose. I saw a thumbnail that made my chest clench. It was Lila again, but different. Serious this time. The title said, "My Story, Healing After Assault." I stared at it for a full minute, thumb hovering. I didn't want to click. I didn't want to hear her voice. But of course I did, because that's what trauma does. It pulls you back toward the people who twisted the knife. The video started with her sitting by a window, natural light spilling across her like she was born in a filter. She was wearing a soft blue dress. My blue dress. I knew it immediately. The frayed sleeve hem, the faint discoloration on the left shoulder, from where I'd spilled coffee one morning before work. Felt the air go out of my chest. Then she started talking. She talked about a night that changed everything, about trust broken, about learning to reclaim her body. Her voice shook in all the right places. She cried once, delicately. She even said she'd never told anyone before, except I had. I'd told her, 3 years ago, sitting in her apartment kitchen, hands shaking around a mug of tea she'd made for me. I told her everything. How he followed me to my car after my shift. How he forced me down behind the dumpsters. How the blue dress tore at the seam under my arm when I tried to fight him off. I remember she held me, silent. She said, "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to." And now here she was, talking about it, like it was her story. Her pain, her journey. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even move for a while. Just sat there on my couch, shaking. The comment section was worse. Thousands of people writing things like, "You're so brave," and "Thank you for sharing. This helps me heal too." Somebody even said, "The blue dress detail broke me. I can't stop crying." That was my detail. I closed the app and threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall with a sound that felt small compared to the screaming in my head. I didn't go to work the next morning. I couldn't face the customers, not while my cousin was racking up sponsorship deals from my trauma. I sat in my tiny kitchen, staring at the cracked linoleum, and wondered how far a person could go before they stopped being family. At first, I told myself it was a mistake. Maybe she'd absorbed my story so deeply that she thought it was hers. Maybe she was confused. But then I remembered the way she'd always been. The way she'd borrow my clothes and never return them. How she'd rewrite our shared memories so she always looked like the hero. She'd always been rehearsing in a way. That night she posted again. A carousel this time. Pictures of her holding that same blue dress on a hanger, captioned, "Letting go of what no longer serves me." The last slide was a close-up of the torn seam. She'd even monetized it. There was a link. My healing collection, inspired by my journey. She was selling replicas of the blue dress. That was the moment something in me went cold. Not anger, exactly. Not at first. More like a quiet, precise understanding that if she could take from me so easily, I could take something back. It started small. I made a new account, just a throwaway. A blank profile, no picture, no followers. I called it Only Truth Left. Her followers were obsessed, and obsession makes people stupid. They believed anything that sounded intimate, like a secret whispered in the dark. so I whispered. I commented under her next post. Something vague. Something only she would notice. Does he still call when you can't sleep? The comment got buried under thousands of others, but I knew she saw it. She always read her comments. Her entire self-worth depended on them. The next morning, she posted a story saying, "Please remember, trolls are everywhere. Protect your peace," I smiled. The seed was planted. Then I leaked something small to a gossip forum. A screenshot of her old text to me, cropped just right. It looked like she was manipulating a friend, using their pain for content ideas. I didn't have to lie. I just had to choose my angles carefully. Within hours, her fans were arguing. Some defended her. Others started asking questions. Why does this sound so rehearsed? Didn't another influencer say something similar last year? Where's the police report? The thing about living online is that truth doesn't matter. Only perception does. By the end of the week, a rumor started that she'd stolen someone else's story. No one knew whose. Not yet. I wasn't ready to show my hand. Sometimes I'd catch myself watching her lives, listening to that same soft voice that used to comfort me. It felt like being haunted by someone who wasn't dead. She cried on camera one night, said she was taking a break from social media for her mental health. Thousands of comments poured in. Support, love, blind, sympathy. I almost felt bad. Almost, but then she said something that snapped the pity right out of me. "Healing is messy," she whispered to the camera. Sometimes people will try to tear you down because they're jealous of your strength. Jealous. That word hit harder than I expected. Jealous of what? Of her lies? Of the way she could polish pain until it gleamed? I turned off the stream and opened my notebook. The same one where I'd written everything down after the assault, back when my therapist told me it might help. I tore out a page and stared at my handwriting. Jagged, uneven, real. That's when I decided I wouldn't just haunt her. I'd strip her story back down to the bones, make her remember where it came from. I printed out one of her Instagram photos, the one of her smiling in the blue dress. Then I wrote across it in black marker, "You wore my scars." I mailed it to her P.O. box. No return address. A few days later, she posted a story about disturbing mail and online harassment. Her followers rallied again. But this time I noticed something new, cracks in the facade. Some of the comments were skeptical. A few people even said she was milking the drama. Perfect. I wasn't done. Not even close. Because haunting someone, I learned, isn't about appearing. It's about presence. It's about being a ghost they can't block. So I planned the next step carefully. I created another fake profile, this one more believable, with a fake name and face. I made it look like a former fan-turned-critic. I started posting threads, connecting dots that weren't quite lies but weren't exactly true either. I used her own words against her. Old captions, old blog posts, screenshots of her healing workshops that cost hundreds of dollars. The narrative built itself. All I had to do was feed it, and I did. One night, I dreamed of the blue dress again. It hung from a tree branch, fluttering in the wind. Beneath it, the ground was soft and wet. I woke up with a taste of metal in my mouth, heart pounding like I'd run miles. I checked my phone. Her follower count had dropped by 20,000 overnight. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt empty. It wasn't enough yet. Because the truth was, she'd taken something from me I couldn't get back. Not the story itself, but the ownership of it. She'd rewritten my pain in her own handwriting, and if I couldn't reclaim the story, I could at least destroy hers. I've learned that silence has a sound. It hums between your thoughts, soft and relentless, like the space between heartbeats. That's what my apartment feels like now, filled with the hum of everything I'm not saying. After the first rumors started, I deleted all traces of the fake accounts from my phone, but I didn't need them anymore. The internet was doing the work for me. Lila's followers had turned on her in slow, vicious circles. Every apology she posted was dissected, every word doubted. Screenshots, timelines, exposés, strangers fighting over pieces of her. as if she were a crime scene they could solve. I watched it happen like someone standing outside a burning house. Close enough to feel the heat, far enough to stay safe. At least that's what I told myself. 2 weeks after my first message, she called me. It was late, close to midnight. I didn't answer at first. I just watched her name flash on the screen, over and over. Lila calling. I hadn't seen those words together in years. When I finally picked up, her voice was small. "Sam?" I didn't say anything. "Please," she said. "Can we talk?" The silence stretched until it began to ache. I almost hung up, but something in her tone, that old, unguarded vulnerability, made me stay. She took a breath. "I think someone's targeting me." I closed my eyes. "What makes you say that?" "There've been these posts. Messages. Someone leaked things only a friend would know." Her voice cracked, and for a second, I imagined her sitting cross-legged on her pristine white bedspread, clutching her phone like it could save her. "People online," she continued. "They're saying I lied about my story. They're saying I made it up for clout. You don't think I'd do that, right?" The question hung in the air like smoke. "You wouldn't," I said slowly. "You'd never steal someone else's story." "I swear I didn't." She was crying now, quietly. It was inspired by things that happened to someone I knew. I thought I could help people by sharing it. Someone I knew. That's how she justified it. She'd rewritten me into a footnote. "Lila," I said, "do you even remember what I told you that night?" She hesitated. "Of course I do." "Then you know it wasn't yours to share." Her breath hitched. "Sam, I have to go." "Please, wait." But I'd already ended the call. After that, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching dawn turn the parking lot pale and colorless. I told myself I didn't feel guilty. But guilt is clever. It doesn't need your permission to grow. It comes in through the cracks. A sound, a dream, a memory. That morning I dreamed of her face. Not as it was now, polished and framed in ring light, but as it used to be. 2 girls sitting on a dock by the lake, legs swinging over the edge. She'd borrowed my blue dress then too, the first time. I'd laughed because it looked better on her. It always did. Now I couldn't tell if I wanted to destroy her or become her. Maybe both. Lila stopped posting for a while. She vanished from the feed, and the internet moved on. They always do. But I couldn't. My world had shrunk to the sound of my phone buzzing, the pulse of notifications I didn't want to read. Then, one morning she reappeared, not online, but outside Ruby's diner. I saw her through the glass as I poured coffee for a trucker. She looked smaller somehow, fragile in a hoodie and sunglasses. When she walked in, a bell chimed, and the sound made my stomach twist. She slid into a booth by the window. The same, one she used to sit in when she'd visit me years ago, back when she'd still tipped generously and asked about my shift. Now she just looked tired. "Hey," she said when I approached. I stood there, holding the coffee pot like a weapon. "We're short-staffed," I said. "Can't talk long." "I won't stay." She looked up at me, eyes red-rimmed. "I just needed to see you." I poured her coffee without asking. The smell rose between us. Burnt, bitter. She stirred it absently. "You were right," she whispered. "About the video, about everything." I didn't answer. I told myself it was okay, because I'd lived through things too. Different, but... She stopped, shaking her head. "It doesn't matter. I used what you told me. I thought it was healing, but it was just theft. I'm sorry. It should have been enough. The apology, the admission. but something inside me stayed clenched. She reached into her bag and pulled out the blue dress. Folded neatly, clean now, the fabric almost luminous in the morning light. "I kept it," she said. "I couldn't throw it away. I wanted to give it back." I stared at the bundle in her hands. I thought of that night, the alley, the tearing sound, the smell of asphalt and blood. My throat closed. "Keep it," I said. "It fits you better." Her face crumpled. "Sam, enjoy your coffee." I turned away before I could see her cry. When she left, she didn't take the dress with her. It lay folded on the table, soft and weightless, like a memory waiting to rot. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the dress. I hung it over the back of a chair, and for hours I just watched it move in the draft. Every time I blinked, I saw flashes, my skin against the pavement, her face on the screen. The boundaries between us blurred, dissolving like ink in water. By dawn, I realized something. I wasn't haunting her anymore. I was haunting myself. Still, I couldn't stop watching. Even after she disappeared, I checked her profiles every day, refreshing them compulsively, as if absence itself could post something new. Then one afternoon, she returned, not with a video, but a written post. "To those who've followed my journey, I made mistakes. I crossed lines. I confused empathy with ownership. But I'm learning. I want to make amends." The comments were quiet this time. No floods of hearts, no hashtags. Just silence, like the world was waiting to see who she'd be next. And then, at the bottom of the post, one sentence. "This is for Sam. For me." My heart stopped. No one else would understand it, but I did. She wasn't apologizing privately. She was performing it again, turning contrition into content. I felt the old heat rise again. Anger, betrayal, something darker. I thought I'd exorcised it, but maybe revenge isn't an act. Maybe it's a residence. And I'd moved in. Over the next week, I started writing. Not posts, not comments. A confession. My own version of the story. The one she'd stolen. I wrote about the night behind the diner, about the months of silence that followed. I wrote about how Lila had listened, and how her face hadn't changed even once. I wrote about the video, the blue dress, the hollow apology. When I finished, it was nearly 10,000 words. Raw, unedited. It felt like bleeding onto paper. I thought about sending it to a blog, or publishing it under a fake name. But the idea of strangers reading it made me sick. I didn't want their sympathy. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt, exposure. So I sent it to her directly. No message, no subject line. Just the file, titled The Blue Dress, Docs. Then I waited. 2 days later, she posted again. A black square. No caption. Then another post, just text on a white background. "There are some things you can't come back from, but you can try to tell the truth." The comments filled with speculation. People wondered if it was about me. Some guessed it was another publicity stunt. I knew better. She'd read it. But I didn't feel triumphant. The victory felt thin, hollow. Like I'd cut myself open just to watch her bleed. Weeks passed. She disappeared again, truly this time. Her accounts went dark, her website taken down. The algorithm moved on. I tried to too. But every now and then I'd catch a flash of blue, a dress on a stranger, a curtain in a shop window, and feel that familiar pull. Like the past was tugging me backward. I started dreaming of her more often. Sometimes she was the one in the alley. Sometimes I was. Sometimes we were both there, wearing the same dress, staring at each other through the dark. In one dream, she reached out and said, "Tell it again." When I woke, I realized I didn't know whose voice it had been. That morning, I went to the diner as usual. The manager handed me an envelope. No return address, just my name written in looping, careful handwriting. Inside was a photo. The same one I'd sent her months ago, the one I'd marked up with "You wore my scars." But the words were gone. In their place, a single line written in pen. "You gave them to me." My hand shook. I looked up at the clock, the second hand ticking, steady as a pulse. And for the first time, I wasn't sure who was haunting whom anymore. The envelope stayed on my kitchen table for days. I told myself I'd throw it away, but each morning I found it in a new place. On the counter, near the bed, once on the floor beside the blue dress. As if the paper had learned to move, the world outside went on. The diner's hum, orders shouted through steam, truckers asking for more coffee. Inside, everything was slowing down. Even the clock seemed to hesitate before each tick. I searched for Lila online, expecting more black squares. More cryptic apologies. Nothing. Then one night, a new account appeared, the Blue Dress Journal. No profile picture, no followers, just a single post, my own words, the first paragraph from the file I'd sent her. I was wearing a sky-colored dress the night the world tilted. Line for line, my opening sentence. And beneath it, a caption. Shared with permission. I should have laughed. Instead, I felt the strange calm that comes when a fever finally breaks. I messaged the account. "Me, who are you?" "The Blue Dress Journal." "You know." The next morning, another post appeared. A photo of the diner's parking lot, early dawn, fog curling around the streetlights. The angle was from my apartment window. Someone had been there. That evening, after my shift, I walked home with the blue dress folded under my arm. I wanted to throw it into the river that split the town, watch it sink and vanish. But at the bridge, I stopped. The fabric was cold through the paper bag, heavy with rain. A car slowed beside me. Silver. Familiar. Her car. Lila rolled down the window. She looked thinner. Her eyes ringed with exhaustion, but the faint trace of foundation still clung to her skin like armor. "Get in," she said. I didn't move. The river hissed below us. "Please, Sam. I just want to talk." The way she said please, it wasn't the practiced softness of her videos. It was real. So I got in. We drove in silence for a while, out toward the edge of town where the streetlights gave up. She parked by the lake, our old place. The surface of the water held the last of the daylight, gray and still. "I deleted everything," she said finally. "All my accounts. The followers, the sponsorships. I can't undo what I did, but I can stop letting it live." "And the journal?" I asked. She looked at me sharply. "You saw that." "Of course I saw it. That wasn't me." Her voice dropped. "I think someone's posting as me, or as you." "I don't know anymore." I studied her face. For once, there was no performance in it, just confusion and fear that mirrored my own. "You think I'm doing it?" I said. "I don't know what to think," she whispered. "Sometimes I wake up and there's a draft open on my phone I don't remember writing. Sometimes I dream in your voice." The wind shifted. The lake rippled. I felt a tremor pass through me, quiet and absolute. "I've been dreaming in yours," I said. We stared at each other, two mirrors trying to find which one was real. Then she reached across the console and handed me her phone. On the screen was a new draft post, time-stamped at 3 a.m. "I am the one who took the story. I am the one who lost it. We are the same." Her hands were shaking. "I didn't type that. I didn't tell her I'd dreamt those exact words the night before." Back at home, I hung the blue dress on the wall. Its fabric caught the light, shifting from sky to bruise and back again. I watched until my reflection in the window blurred with its color. The next notification came just before midnight. The Blue Dress Journal tagged you in a post. The photo was of two figures standing at the lake's edge, both in blue. The caption read, "The sky that morning was the same color as the blue dress. Not quite blue, not quite white, something between air and bruise." I was sitting by the window when my phone vibrated. The blue dress journal. Meet me. Below it was an address. The lake. The place where everything began. I went without thinking. Some things can only be understood one last time. The fog was low when I arrived. The water looked frozen in motion, a mirror holding its breath. And there she was, Lila, wearing the blue dress. For a second, I thought I was seeing myself. She turned, smiled. The same careful smile that once belonged only to the camera. "You came?" she said. I asked, "Who are you now?" She hesitated, then said softly, "Maybe you. Or maybe the part of you that survived." Our reflections on the water fused. 2 outlines, 1 shadow. I couldn't tell which of us was real anymore. "I can't write anymore," she said. "Every sentence turns into yours." "I can't write either," I said. "Every sentence turns into you." The wind rose, stirring the fabric between us, the hem of the dress, the breath of the past. It felt like the difference between us was unraveling, thread by thread. She took my hand. "Let it go," she whispered. "The story. The pain. Me." I shook my head. "I just need to hear it once more," I said. "The truth." She closed her eyes. "The truth is," she said, "we both lived the same story. We just died from it in different ways." For a long time, there was only the sound of the wind and the stillness of the lake. Then she walked away, into the fog, into the gray. I never saw her again. Sometimes new posts still appear on the blue dress journal. Sometimes it's just one line. "She is still listening." Sometimes it's a photograph of a place I've never been. I don't comment anymore. I only look. Sometimes I feel like I'm the one writing them. Sometimes I'm sure it's her. I don't know the difference anymore. The blue dress hangs by my window now, washed and weightless. In the light, its color shifts, sometimes pale as sky, sometimes dark as a wound. Maybe there was never more than one color. Maybe pain and healing are just 2 shades of the same thing. The story is over. Or maybe, finally, it's just begun. End of the blue dress.